Well, good afternoon and good afternoon to you too, Vicky. We're talking this week about time. It's week 6 already. My word, time flies, as they say. Ho ho. How's your time management? How's your timekeeping?
Well, do you know what? Time's an awesome subject, isn't it? I
Mm.
had some amazing conversations about time over the years, and how I manage my time honestly varies from week to week, month to month, and I don't stress about it like I used to, because ultimately we all have the same amount of time. No matter what, it doesn't go
We,
fast, it doesn't go slow, and some weeks I manage it better than others. Some days I manage it better than others, but I don't get myself all het up about it like I used to do. What about you?
well, I'm a bit like one of those Swiss timetable things. My day has to run very much. I think we get, is it 86,400 seconds a day? It's this mind-boggling thing that we've created.
Yeah.
And there's that terrible phrase that we get. I'm sorry, I haven't had time. And I can remember in my employed days many years ago, if I ever said that to my boss, I would then sort of duck as the hairdresser, this hair dryer would give it would blast me and say, "What do you mean you haven't had time?" Um, I always think people use it as a bit of a barrier,
Massive.
um, and I think punctuality is really important in our business. It's really important because
Mm.
each appointment knocks on from another,
Yep.
but also I think maybe we overdo it, and I don't know. I don't know what sort of things do you project about time.
Well, yes. Over the years, I think I've changed how I think about time and how I relate to time. There's no doubt that to me, punctuality is so important. And I used to get absolutely wound up when people were not on time. And if anything, I like people to be slightly early.
Mm,
Particularly when it comes to, if, for example, back in the days when I was teaching back-to-back classes in a gym, they didn't in the early years have a gap in between sessions, so one would run on from the next. Well, of course it never did, because
mm.
people would be late, people would take a long time packing the stuff up and leaving, and so we wouldn't even start on time, and that used to really get on my nerves. Big time. But over the years, I've obviously, when I set up my own classes, and I would stipulate I start on time. And please
Mm.
note that if you come in late, you are not just disrupting me, you're disrupting everybody else who has decided to rock up early and respect each other. And that's how I used to leave it. And I would promise myself I wouldn't get annoyed if somebody rocked up late, but
Mm.
I would.
I know it's one of those things. So I think we probably don't suffer that very much ourselves, do we? We don't suffer that poor time management. Um, I'm one of those people that if I'm going to go and catch the train, even though I live a mile from the station and I can walk there in 15 minutes, I know I'm going to be there at least 15 minutes before the 15 minutes because I can't think of a time that I've never missed catching that train, and yet they are, there are hundreds of people or millions of people each day that miss the boat.
Mm. Yeah, I
Um,
think, don't you think that's down to the importance that it's put upon you when you're a kid, though? I think all of this stuff is, I was taught that it's respectful to
hmm,
be on time. I was just brought up that it's a manners thing. And it's just part of what you do. And unless it's circumstances beyond your control, like the bus breaks down or, it's something that you cannot control at all, there is no excuse for you not allowing enough time. So like you, I rock up early and I would rather wait so that I
hmm,
can be on time than be late. But there are some people, and I remember this back at school, it was always the people who lived closest, who could walk, who were always late.
yeah, yeah.
And it was never, a big thing was never made of it. We just kind of accepted, oh, they're always late. And that in my head was letting them off the hook, meaning that they would never had any reason to be on time because there was never a consequence. Whereas For us, there was consequences. At school, there were consequences. If you were late, there was a consequence. I don't think people are brought up like that these days, though.
Maybe not. I mean, punctuality is one thing, and I'm sure we could just wax on for hours and hours about being punctual and all of its different values and whatever. How about wasting time? That's one that really gets me.
I don't think there is such a thing.
All right, okay, that's good.
Okay, I really don't think you can waste time. Time is ticking away right now as we are speaking, right? People may listen to this and afterwards they might go, well, that was a complete waste of time. But they weren't wasting it. They were actually doing something. They were watching something. They were doing something with it. So even if you're not doing something productive, whatever that may mean to you, you are doing something with that time. Always. So you're never, ever wasting it because you can't. It's not yours to waste. It's just a thing that is happening regardless of what you're doing.
So where did it all start accelerating? I remember school holidays when they seemed to be really long. They were like years long. I suppose in proportion of our lifetime, they were quite long. And we used to say to your mum, "Oh, Mum, I'm really bored. What can I do? I'm really bored." But even then, I'm thinking, was I bored? Or do my children ever say that they're bored? I can't think of a time when I was bored.
I can't. I can never, ever think of, and I don't understand actually honestly, I really don't know what that means. I don't know how you are bored. I don't get it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it feels like. I have never not had something to do or wanted to do something.
But is that a good thing, do you think? Is it right not to have some gaps in there where you just go, actually I'll just go with a bit of spontaneity?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So what I meant by that was I don't mean that you have to be fully productive all of the time. But if you decide that you just want to take some time out and just want to maybe have a nap or just go into your living room and stick some music on and just lose yourself in that, you're still doing something. You're not doing absolutely nothing. And I think that is the space that we need to allow ourselves when we understand how to prioritize being effective and efficient with the time that we have and what we have to get done. And I think where we can get it a bit wrong is that the majority of us overestimate what we can do in a certain amount of time and then underestimate how long other things will take. And that's when we get ourselves in a bit of a tiz-was with time management.
I think you're right. Funnily enough, for guys, what they tended to do, I think this is why Top Gear was invented. You get an hour of just nonsense, which is the same thing every week to watch. It'd be like Formula One. You watch it, or you go down the shed, or you have a shed in the garden, and you sort of go down and you tinker, and then you sort of say, "Well, what happened in Top Gear?" So, well, I don't know. I can't really remember. But it was just that zoning out moment. I know with my kids, there's a tendency to try and fill their day because they're 5 and 4. The younger ones are 5 and 4, and when you sort of think, well, if we do this in the afternoon, and then we do that in the afternoon, we'll do something else in the afternoon. But actually, there's never really time to do the afternoon thing because you've done the thing in the morning, you've worn them out, and actually in the afternoon they're knackered anyway, which is probably how we are. We're trying to schedule out what you're doing over the next hour, day, month, year. I think is really important.
I think it's important to have kind of an outline. But I think we've got to be really, really careful that we don't fill all the gaps in and have this amazing looking, look, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to achieve. And the reality is that you need to do exactly that. We need to have that Top Gear time. We need to switch off and just not have to overthink anything and not have to be really serious or watch the clock. We can just literally lose ourselves in something that requires not a lot of input from us. And it's vital for us to actually function as human beings, I think.
Do you think this is where we would possibly miss out against how normal people, because we don't go to the pub?
No.
Do you think that? Do you think the pub is that time out space?
I think it is for some people, but can we not get that same time out space going out for a meal or going to a book club or going to some kind of other group meeting? Because ultimately it's about being sociable, isn't it? Going to the pub is about meeting up with people and having conversation that is different from the usual people you converse with. And it's a time to wind down. It is absolutely that, but we don't have to do that in a pub. We can do that doing something else, going somewhere else, walking, running, whatever. It could be a golf club. It doesn't really matter what it is, but I think we all have to have that interaction with others to let our brains have different conversation and allow us to open up the possibility of seeing things in a different way. So important.
Yeah, I think you're right. The running thing's really interesting, isn't it? Because we do. It's a very, very selfish thing to do with your time, especially if you're running, some of the distances that that I run or the people that I know run. If you're spending 2-3 hours a day of your day running, it's like, well, and you're sort of shoehorning that in, or you're building the rest of your time around it. It's amazing how they're just all of the oxygen of the day goes, and then suddenly the only place that you're stealing from is sleep, and actually sleep is so important, isn't it?
Well, sleep is vital. And this is where, when you started off asking me about how am I about managing my time, I am really, I'd say so much better than I ever used to be. I'm pretty hot on making sure that I do have sleep and I factor that in. Because I know that I function better if I allow for that sleep time fully.
How many hours do you get a day sleeping?
So I will be in bed. It's not to say I'm sleeping, but I will be in bed for 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but what I tend to do is I tend to wind down and I tend to read. And so the computer screen goes off. So don't send me a message and expect a reply after 9:30 at night. It's not happening. End of story.
Yeah,
9 preferably. But it goes off. And then literally I am up at 4:45. And so that time that I'm in bed, that is time that is paramount, and I'm not going to change that. So if somebody says to me, oh, can you do a call and can you be on a webinar till 9:30? No, absolutely not. I'm sorry. Is the recording? I'll watch that, but don't expect me to show up at that time. Not if you want me to function well and be my best, because it's not going to happen. And I know I'll pay the price, but I've learned that over the years, and that's what works for me. And I think that's the difference. It's prioritizing how we spend our time. So for you to be running, that's priority for you. That's so important to what you do, who you are. And you're often with clients. You're not just on your own. Always. Often. And you think about it, people do a lot of business on golf courses. How long does that take to go around a golf course? Right?
Forever if I'm playing.
Right. And so I think we have to not judge whether something's a waste of time, because by doing something that we enjoy, whether it produces something or not, is vitally important to how we behave and who we are. And that includes sleep or wasting time watching TV that we can't remember.
It always does strike me quite strange that we want to watch other people play sport. I always say, why do you want to go and sit for 90 minutes to watch other people play sport like football or whatever, when in those 90 minutes you could go and either play yourself or go and do something that's more, that's better for you than going to a match. But I understand that everybody has different passion and that they allot different time to whatever it is. But I think the whole time thing becomes more and more relevant as we get older.
I agree.
Suddenly, it's 20 years since the millennium.
My God, is it?
God, what happened? What happened? Yeah, Freddie Mercury's been dead 29 years.
Wow.
John Lennon, 40 years. John Lennon was only on the planet for 40 years. Next week he's been dead for 40 years. It's like, my God, I can remember the day I was on the way to college, and where are those 40 years gone? You know,
Frightening.
So yeah.
But when you think about it, it's relative, because I don't know about you, but when I was sort of 18, 19, 20, and I used to look at my grandparents, who, to be quite honest, weren't old. they were in their sort of middle 50s when I was that age. And it's just like, they seemed really old.
Really old.
But now I'm heading towards that same age. I'm like, well, I don't really feel that much different, to be quite honest, in a lot of ways.
I saw one of my teachers was 90 the other day. So I sort of counted the years back and thought, my God, he was teaching me when he was in his mid-40s, and he seemed about 90 then. Yeah, my grandparents were both born in the 1800s. So I know it, and I met some of their siblings who were born in the 1880s. So no wonder we were scared when we were kids when we went to see them, because it was like meeting Queen Victoria. And yet it's still, that time is still within my lifetime.
Yeah, which is fascinating. But I definitely think, and I've had this conversation with clients who are both younger than me and older than me, and we've all said the same thing. As we get older, it does seem to go faster.
Oh.
But obviously it doesn't, but it's our perception. Or are we just fitting in more than we used to do? I don't know. Maybe that is what it is.
I think there is a time acceleration. There definitely is a time acceleration. There must be a surge every day on the hour around the world of power, as all the iPhones and what Androids suddenly wake everybody up at exactly 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, wherever it is that we wake up. I think we are cramming more in, because everything is quicker. You know, I want to buy something. I don't have to go to the shop. I just go on Amazon and it tips up in an hour. If I want to talk to somebody, I just pick up a phone and talk. Whereas I know when I was 18, we just used to say, I'm meeting next week, and we sat on a wall. We actually met at a wall. I'll see you at 7 o'clock on the wall, and around 7 o'clock you turned up.
Yeah,
you didn't need to phone anyone, because we didn't have that sort of communication. But yeah, the internet has definitely put us into this kind of wormhole of time. But the things that have been predicted for us over this time have sort of really sort of happened, and I think it's going to speed up again. And it's about our flexibility and how we take on time in the future.
One thing I think was interesting, that the conversations that I've had, especially with people in the first lockdown, was when I asked what's the positive that you're taking from it, and just about everybody bar none said, we like the fact that we've been forced to slow down. And I think, you know what, if anything else we can forget about this, which most stuff we want to, I hope we don't forget that we've slowed down and we actually enjoyed it. And I know there's a lot of people will be changing how they prioritize their time now, because they realize that they don't want to keep rushing. That being said, there's this whole other side of the world that kind of want everything to go faster and to speed up even more and get back to a new normal, whatever that is. So I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be a division of how we live now as people. There's going to be those of us who really want to slow down and not stay up to speed with everything and start to prioritize our wants and needs. And then I think there's going to be others who are maybe scared of missing out on the future what that holds. And it's going to be interesting.
I think it will be interesting. We'll see what time delivers. Our time's up. Look at that, 20 minutes.
Just like that.
it just flashes by, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But I think there are some changes coming. I think you're right. How we appreciate time is definitely changing as we get older. How we can help project that to other people to value their time so they don't waste time, I think is really important for people like us.
Mhm.
And let's hope that people use every second that they have and make every second count, because I know for one, having been in a situation where it's life threatening, you value time more and more.
I think that's true. We've both been there, and it definitely does make you kind of be grateful and appreciate it. And that's the cool word I think we'll leave people with today. Appreciate every second of the time that we have.
I love it. If people want to find you, Vicky, where do they find you?
You can find me on vickymidwood.com. I'm on Facebook as the Addiction and Disordered Eating Eliminator, and I'm also over on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Of course you are. And if you Google Rory Coleman, you'll find me all of the time. Ha ha. Let's see you next time. It's good to see you, Vicky.
Thank you. Bye.